Good afternoon. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Corporate Governance Committee. Mr. Kurser, are there any public speakers?
We have two public speakers.
Yes, sir. We have two public speakers. The first is Christopher Greif, sorry.
Greif.
I know, apologize. Followed by Charlton D'Souza.
Okay. Mr. Greif.
It's okay. We're all running late, but let's get to the good stuff today. Good afternoon. As I'm here to support very important things as we continue supporting MTA, we need to make sure that as we're getting the Omni vehicles, like we have one new one, but we still need to continue to get more of those vehicles. It helps the seniors and people with disability to get those vehicles into other boroughs as we're increasing. And yes, they do go to NASA and as well as Westchester. It's very important we update. So any old buses we have that are those buses can be very useful for the reduced fare vehicles as well. And I have to say that we're the only New Yorkers that reduced fare vehicles do travel around New York region. And I hope we can see more supporting of our government, that to please always support the more NYPD, the MTA police, and everything that MTA needs to make sure that we run at 1,000% with the R211As and the R211Ts, especially the accessibility from elevators to ramps. Everyone, happy holidays, and I'll see you at the Capitol.
Our next speaker is Charlton D'Souza.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, General Lieber and the team. I have a couple of suggestions for the Corporate Governance Committee. And one of those suggestions is this morning, many of the board members talked about having the safety meeting, having it every month and having it later in the afternoon. And I agree with that because safety has been a big issue. And Mr. Chairman, if we can please have the head of homeless outreach for NYC Homeless, or if we can have the Bowery Residents Committee come in to talk to the board members. I have some concerns that I want addressed. And what I want to know is, where are these social workers? People are telling me they don't see them overnight. And on the E-train, you have people lying down. So this is why the safety meeting is so important, that it should be monthly. And also the diversity meeting should also be monthly. There's a lot of issues to talk about diversity. And also, how we address members, especially new organizations that are coming in. And Passengers United was not invited to the Eastside Access tour and opening of wayfinding signs. So I would appreciate if we could be invited to all future events going forward. I know you promised, Mr. Chairman, that you would put us on the email list. So if you can do that, and if you have the power to do that, thank you so much. And we're always going to keep it honest at Passengers United. And, we're always going to focus on safety. That is what we do. And I'm sorry we rained on the Eastside Access Parade today and the opening of Grand Central Madison. But we do feel it's important to open it in March when the FRA safety regulations are met. And again, that's what we have to say. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and the board.
Thank you, Mr. D'Souza.
Thank you. That concludes our speakers.
Thank you to both speakers who are MTA, in their own way, MTA family. So thank you for that. The minutes of the March 28, 2022 meeting is in your committee books, board members. Any questions regarding the meetings? Minutes? If not, may I have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Minutes are approved. Mr. Kurz, will you take us through the agenda?
Yes. The first item on the agenda is the draft work plan. We have included the 2023 draft work plan in the committee books for your review and approval.
Thank you. Any questions about the work plan? May I have a motion to approve the committee work plan for 2023?
So moved.
Second? Okay.
Second.
Now, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The work plan is approved.
The next item on the agenda is the MTA bylaws. Each year, this committee reviews the MTA bylaws. We are not recommending any changes to the bylaws at this time. Copies of the bylaws can be found in your committee books if you have any questions.
No questions? Go ahead, Mr. Kurz.
The next item on the agenda is the review of the charter. Each year, this committee is required to review its own charter as well as the charter for each of the MTA committees. We have included copies of the charters in your committee books. We are not recommending any changes at this time. Any questions?
Questions or comments from the board? Next item, please.
Next item on the agenda is a review of our corporate governance guidelines. Each year, this committee is required to review its corporate governance guidelines. We are not recommending any changes at this time. Copies of the governance guidelines can be found in your committee books. Any
Questions or comments? Hearing none, let's move on to the next.
Next item on the agenda is our all-agency code of ethics. Each year, this committee is required to review the MTA codes of ethics and the board member code of ethics. We are not recommending any changes at this time. Copies of the codes of ethics can be found in your committee book.
Questions, comments? Onwards.
The next item on the agenda is approval of policies that are required by public officers law to be approved by this board under section 2824. We have one policy which is in your exhibit book requiring your review and approval. That is the MTA travel and business expense policy. There are non-substantive changes being recommended.
Any questions? May I have a motion to approve revisions to the travel and business expense policy?
Motion.
Second? We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition or abstention? The revisions are approved. Mr. Cruz.
Finally on the agenda is approval of revisions to the responsibility guidelines. As noted in the staff summary, paragraph 5 and 6 of the current guidelines outline the manner in which contractor evaluations from the MTA's existing all-agency contractor evaluation program are used in connection with the responsibility determination. Changes have been made to those guidelines to incorporate the use of the MTA Construction and Development's contractor evaluation program and evaluations and MTA vendor val program evaluation in responsibility determinations.
Any questions? I'll just add, the revision of how the MTA evaluates contractors was something I started when I was downstairs on the 8th floor. And it is what Jamie and team have developed and what's being implemented here is a much more usable policy. I just want to say for the record, because the old policy was focused on if you gave somebody an unsat, then they were disqualified. So you would end up just having litigation about the evaluation rather than using the evaluation to make the contractor perform better. Okay? So this is I think what's been developed is a more effective system. It's responsive to some of the comments we've gotten from other stakeholders. And I just want to compliment the MTA C&D team for what they came up for. With that little executive, yes, Mr. Brinkman.
Now, this is just a question. Do I understand there were some changes to the open meetings law? Is there anything that we have to change our rules and regulations to fit into that, or?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay,
But we'll look into it
Yeah.
because I don't know of anything, but we're gonna look into it now in
Okay.
light of your comment.
just asking the question. Thank you.
Okay.
So may I have a motion to approve the revisions to the responsibility guidelines? That was the issue we were dealing with when I interrupted about the ACE evaluations. Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The revisions are approved.
This concludes our agenda.
Okay. And I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn with acknowledgement to this group of board members who have allowed us to eliminate the amount of extra time in this soccer game.
Motion to close.
Second. The meeting is adjourned.